Welcome, COM 495, to our last and final expedition. This is a speech on aphasia in stroke patients, and I hope you enjoy. My name is Catherine Hearn. I want you to imagine your life right now. You wake up, turn off your alarm clock, make and eat your breakfast, shower, get dressed, and you drive to work. You greet your friends, shake hands, smile, and talk to your clients. Now imagine your life if you couldn't do any single one of those things without the help of someone else. You need someone there to feed you, change you, drive you. You can't even go to the bathroom alone. The worst part, you know how. You recognize everyone and everything you see. You know you have to go to the bathroom, but you also know that someone has to help you. But what is the word for bathroom? What is her name so she can help me get there? Talk about frustrating. The problem I'm describing is what can happen when the brain suffers a stroke. The National Stroke Association defines stroke as when a blood clot blocks an artery or blood vessel breaks, interrupting blood flow to an area of the brain. When either of these things happen, brain cells begin to die and brain damage occurs. For every person experiencing this, the outcomes can be different. A lot of things are determined by the rapid and intense care needed immediately after it occurs. I stress this because a lot of times patients do not receive care immediately, and the brain damage is much more awful. Strokes can be fatal if left untreated. A lot of victims will experience a weak limb, paralysis in half their body, and more than 2/3 of survivors will have some type of disability from a stroke. Sometimes patients can experience what is called aphasia. Aphasia is defined by the National Aphasia Association as an impairment of language affecting the production or comprehension of speech and the ability to read or write. Aphasia is always due to injury to the brain, most commonly from a stroke, particularly in older individuals. In many cases, this means the patient can recognize who is there, what they want or need, but cannot remember the vocabulary word or name associated with the object. As soon as you say it, it can be an aha moment, but it is very difficult for that patient to communicate. My purpose here today is to briefly educate you on all of you on how to prevent a stroke. Next, I want to go in more depth about what aphasia actually is, and third, the steps to treat patients with aphasia. Because a stroke is a blood clot in the brain, there are drugs made to break down blood clots that, once administered, thin the blood and allow the blood to flow once again, and also allowing oxygen to reach those deprived areas. This would be more helpful, of course, after a stroke has already occurred. What can cause a stroke? High blood pressure, arterial fibrillation, high cholesterol, diabetes, atherosclerosis, circulation problems, tobacco use, and of course smoking, alcohol use, physical inactivity, and what goes with that, obesity. If you have been diagnosed with any of these things, you are at a higher risk for stroke. You can do something about any of these habits or diseases by changing your diet, exercising, and quitting smoking. Always talk to a doctor before you change life habits. And please think before you continue down this path. Sometimes stroke triggers are completely out of your control. Some of those include age, gender, race, family history, previous stroke or TIA, fibromuscular dysplasia, patent foramen oval. Any of these conditions are out of your control, but you are also at an increased risk for stroke. Now that formalities are out of the way, let's talk about aphasia in more depth. There are many forms of aphasia describing exactly what each patient is going through. Global, Broca, mixed non-fluent, Wernicke's, and anomic aphasia are the main subcategories of aphasia. Global aphasia would be one of the hardest to overcome because the patient neither understands nor can remember the words to respond to you. Anomic aphasia, which I have a very personal background with, is where the patient can understand you but cannot remember the words they need to respond. In my life, I can talk to this patient, I can carry on a full one-sided conversation, and he looks at me like he has so much to say, so much wisdom to share, but the words won't and can't come out. It's mutually frustrating for all involved. It's a constant guessing game. The aphasia is caused by the brain damage experienced during the stroke, otherwise known as the lack of oxygen to the brain, where the brain matter has died. There is no magical pill that makes this brain damage go away. Treatment often comes from a lifetime of therapy, practice, love, and care. Vocabulary cards, first grade style worksheets, and hours with trained therapists, listening to music all aid in remembering what has been wiped from your mind. Sometimes looking at picture books with names jotted below the faces will also help to recall the loved ones in your own family. Also, learning these things once are not enough. It has to be worked on every day. Constant vocabulary. You may have repeated bathroom 100 times, and the patient still can't drag it up from their memory. Aphasia is rarely the only problem in stroke patients. There are usually also other things going on, such as weak limbs, paralysis, tremors, seizures, and a lot of medication regulating those previously mentioned diseases. In some extreme cases, the inabilities to swallow can occur as well, because with paralysis, you can only imagine some of those muscles are also paralyzed and don't allow you to swallow. While you are struggling with therapy and treatment for aphasia, you can also have other therapies and things going on too. If a stroke patient suffers with aphasia, it is something they will struggle with for the rest of their life. Basically, the parts of your brain that associate speech and memory have been damaged. In therapy, we are now asking those patients to use other parts of their brain unassociated with speech to talk and remember names, remember vocabulary, and words for other daily objects. The idea here is to take care of your bodies. You only get one. Thank you. Have a great day.